Renana, she joined already in 1978 SEWA as an organizer, and she was instrumental in forming the first cooperative of SEWA. In 1981, she was elected as secretary of SEWA, and you saw her in the film yesterday as the then secretary, under the leadership of Ella Ben. And in 1995, she became the national coordinator. She has been the chair of the SEWA Bank and of Mahila Housing. Together with Ella Ben, she participated in the ILO discussions on the Home-Based Workers Convention 177 in 1995 and 96. And after that, she was one of the co-founders of WIGO, whose chair she has been until quite recently. She was a member of the UN Secretary General's high-level panel on women's economic empowerment from 2016 to 2017. And she also has played a crucial role in the founding of HomeNet South Asia and as a chair of HomeNet South Asia. And she continues to play a crucial role within SEWA as a president of SEWA Bharat, the National Federation of SEWA.
I am very happy to speak to the delegates and the observers and all my old friends in this very important launch. This is really a historic time. And I want to tell you a bit about a prehistoric time, which happened, what Rakavan just told you, that we formed HomeNet International. So more than 20 years ago, we actually did form a HomeNet International. Well, a little less than 20 years ago. And this HomeNet International, of course, is no longer there. And you are the new HomeNet International. And I want to tell you the story of the first HomeNet International. As you know, and Ilaben had told you, that SEWA and I also worked with home-based workers for many years. And about 12 or 13 years after we had been working on the ground in India with home-based workers, we met my friend Rakavan here, Lucy Lazo, and other people from HomeNet Thailand. And we were HomeNet Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, and we were surprised to find that India is not the only place. There are home-based workers there also. So then we started finding out more, and we found out there are home-based workers in all over the world. And we were very excited. And we started going to meetings, and some of us even traveled. And we found so many different home-based workers organizations. In UK, there was a home-based workers organization, and Jane Tate was there. In Australia, the union had a home-based workers organization. We found a whole cooperative in Portugal, a whole island where they were only doing embroidery. In South Africa, Pat had formed SEWA, and there were so many home-based workers there also. Then we went to Latin America. Pat and I yesterday were discussing, we went to Latin America together. In Chile, there was Ana Clara, new organization, small one of women. In Brazil, the Força Sindical, the Brazilian trade union, was having home-based workers. So many of us became very excited that we are not alone in the world. We are everywhere in so many different places. Why should we not be more in touch with each other? So we kept trying to meet from time to time. But then suddenly, as you know, in 1993 or 94, I think it was, 93, it was decided that home-based workers would be, or home workers will be an item on the ILO agenda for convention. So we felt, all of us in all these different countries, we felt that we must put all our best to get the ILO convention. And so in 1994, we registered HomeNet International. HomeNet International, first one, was registered in 1994. This was not like your good, good new network. It was just a small NGO. And there were about 8 of us from different countries. I think Pat is here. Rakavan, were you? I don't remember if you were one of the, you were not one of the trustees. I know Pat was, I was. And a lady called Anneke, she helped us to register in Netherlands because it is easy to register in Netherlands. So we registered in ILO and we registered in Netherlands, called ourselves HomeNet International. We were a small NGO and we asked for observer status at the ILO. So because we were registered, we got observer status. And so all through 94, 95, 96, we kept on working towards the ILO convention. We lobbied with our governments. We had meetings. Yesterday, Chandniji described to you the meeting in Thailand. We had a magazine, which we called HomeNet, and which we spread very far and wide. Those days, there was no digital, so it was all print magazine. So that we would send out. So we were very active at that time. And during the ILO convention, we were observers. So HomeNet International was the observer. SEWA was also the observer. HomeNet International put up big poster exhibitions with a lot of photos. Then all of us were there. We kept meeting our different governments. We kept talking to them. We kept lobbying. And we distributed the newsletter very widely. So this way, HomeNet International was the group which worked hard. I won't say it's the only group, but it worked hard for the ILO convention because it was in the interest of home-based workers. Just to show you, I brought it here. I have some of them. I want to show you, this was our magazine at that time called HomeNet. So I think this is a Philippine lady who is doing the homework. And this was the first one, by the way. And then at the ILO convention, after the ILO convention, we also had a number of different magazines. Again, I want to show you a picture. Yesterday, you may remember, you were told about how we organized a workshop, and the Thai home worker showed the governments what work she was doing. So this photograph is China government looking at Thailand home worker, speaking to each other. And this last photo I want to show you, this is Ilaben who spoke to you yesterday. And of course, this is many, many years ago. And she is just waiting for the convention for the final result. You can see her face. The result hasn't come yet. So we were very active. We had this HomeNet. We were all so excited that we want to do that. Now ILO convention is passed. And now we can all go out and start organizing the home-based workers. Rakavan just told you we had this meeting in Ahmedabad, in SEWA in 1997. And we all decided that we must form a proper international network. Up to now, as I told you, it was a small NGO, just a few of us. But we wanted to form a special international, a proper international network. And that is where our problem started. Because I want to again read you something. When we formed the small NGO, which we did very quickly, just for the ILO convention. And Barbara, your question, why was it formed? It was formed because we wanted to come together, but basically that first HomeNet International, the NGO, was formed for the ILO convention so that we could work together, we could become an observer, we could go to the ILO, and that's why it was formed. But now I want to read you what problem happened. The aims of the network, I'm now reading you from the network's constitution, not the network, but the NGOs. To build an international network for home-based workers and their organizations, as well as NGOs, cooperatives, trade unions, researchers, women's groups, etc., including all those who directly or indirectly undertake work in this field. That was the first aim. Then there are some more aims, but the problem was that we were all different. Some of us were researchers, some of us were NGOs, some of us were small women's groups, and we did not realize how different we were. We, by the way, then at that time in 1997, again, we got some funds and we appointed Jane Tate from UK as our coordinator. And we wanted her to continue our interaction with all the different home workers groups, as well as to help us to form a network. So this started. As I told you, there were different people. So there was no real agreement on what an HomeNet international network should look like. Should it be home-based workers? Should it be home-based workers organizations? Should it be member-based organizations? Should it be NGOs, or should it be so broad like we had earlier? So everybody can come in. Now, we had disagreement. Some of us, like SEWA and HomeNet Thailand, Patamaba, SEWU from South Africa, we all felt we should have member-based organization because that will keep the home-based worker at the center, and her issues will come into the network. Some of the others who were researchers and all felt that we must have a much looser network. We should not only confine to member-based organizations. And they also had one reason, some of it was a little selfish, but other reasons were also there, that there were hardly any actual organizations. It's not like now where there are many organizations. There were hardly any organizations. So they said, who will be in the network? This happened, this disagreement kept on, and it slowly created a lot of distrust among us because some people were pulling one way and some people were pulling another way. We had a physical, but we still formed a constitution, and a draft constitution was formed, and we had a physical congress it was not a launch, it was to discuss the draft constitution. That was in Thailand, and I can't remember the year. I think the government was 2001, wasn't it? Or 2000. Anyway, whatever it was, you also don't remember. So whatever it was, all the distrust that had been built over 2 years, it came out in the Congress. And we could not come to an agreement, and two groups were formed. And so at that point, we realized that we did not have solidarity. And I remember, at least I started crying at the end of it. Just cried and cried. What all these years we have tried and we could not make it. So that was what happened. What was the reason? As I said, growing trust, distrust. And that was also increased by some people. There are some people always in a network who will try to keep people separate. Another issue was money. The international networks were getting funds. The national networks also were getting funds. But there was a desire for some people to control the money. And finally, I'm sad to tell you that whatever grant came for HomeNet International was taken away, and a new network called Home Workers Worldwide was formed, which was just that NGOs and researchers and like that, no member-based organizations. Another reason, of course, which built the distrust was that some were very big and some were small. So it was that, how are the big people going to work with the small people? These things were also there. I know Rakavin tried very hard. Up to 2002, maybe 2003, she was sending out letters asking us to become members, but it did not take off. And the home-based workers were the first informal sector to go international, to bring themselves to the international stage, to the ILO. After that, street vendors and StreetNet was formed, and StreetNet is successfully running for many, many years. After that, the International Domestic Workers Federation was formed, and in a way, their path was very similar to HomeNet, because they also had an ILO convention, but they have also formed a very successful network. And home-based workers are slow. We know that they are slow. Home-based workers don't leave their house. They, unlike street vendors who are out on the streets or domestic workers who go out, so even organizing home-based workers is a long process. And so when we went to form HomeNet International, we did not have on the ground good, strong home-based workers organizations. It was not there. So we realized that what we have to do is build up these organizations. And in South Asia, we formed HomeNet South Asia. HomeNet Southeast Asia was already there. Each country formed its own network and started helping to build up their organizations. I think Eastern Europe also, a regional network was built up. And this way, on the ground, wherever we were building up. And now, last few years, we find that they are, and I must definitely say that WeGo has been a huge help in helping home-based workers organize it. First, identifying and then helping the organization to build up. And especially in the African countries and now in Latin America, WeGo has been the main helper to help the organizations build. But now we have the organizations, and now you have all come together. And I am sure this HomeNet International will be a huge success. That's the first part of mine.